All right, so it's good evening, beloveds. Yep, there he is. He won't stay for long, but I got the Dante. And what I'm doing is, this is my final extra push, for, the Essential Ernest Holmes. So basically the class is Monday night. And what I needed to do is get a couple of chapters ahead so that now, from now on, what I can do is I can read the chapter on Saturday, because we finally finished Emma. It only took 12 weeks because it's 12 chapters. Well, this is also 12 chapters. But I needed to get a little ahead because the readings in the class don't line up. So I pushed last week to get through the first, the forward and what have you. And now I am going to read chapter 3, and I'll give you I will tell you where to stop if you're doing the work for chapter 3, or for class. Yeah, I guess it's class 3. So, because I've got it marked. Turns out I already had it marked in the book. So, yeah. Okay. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping first. So, we are Creative Life Spiritual Center. Website is creativelife.org. Constant contact email info@creativelife.org. It's one email a week. Tells you what's going on with the week, month, the hot links are hot. It's also blind CC, so nobody will see your email. You won't end up on anybody else's email list because of us. Also very important in that is the social media. I'm doing this on social media, right? So we are Creative Life Spiritual Center or Creative Life Spark, and I'm the running Rev Ryan across all the social medias that I'm on. So what we ask you to do is go like, subscribe, follow based on which platform you're on, and then engage with the individual post. Now, if you like us on, or subscribe to us on YouTube, then you will know when I upload new videos. So you will know when these chapters go up. So, because it may not go up until Tuesday. I don't know. It depends on what else I have to do tonight, because I've been really lazy today. But it's Sunday and I'm allowed. So, okay. Now, what I'm doing is I'm reading the Essential Ernest Holmes. So, basically what happened is when I was doing the Emma Curtis Hopkins class, I was like, well, I have to read the chapter anyway. And it turns out, because I'm ADHD, I get a whole lot more out of the chapter when I read it out loud. And accountability is when I do it on social media. And it turns out other people are benefiting from it. So I've now done that for Christian Science Mental Practice, reading the Bible again for the first time by Ernest Borg. And now I am doing this. Jesse taught an Emerson class that I didn't get to attend because it was in the middle of the day, and I still have not a 9 to 5. I technically work 10 to 6, but you know what I mean. But I volunteered to read the 5 essays just in case. So, and turns out I may go back and read the rest of the Emerson essays, because Emerson and I might, I don't know that we'll ever be friends, but at least we're talking to each other now. So, when he dangled Marilyn Leo in front of me for the Essential Ernest Holmes, I was like, well, I have to read the book anyway. And here we are. So, I archived them both on the Running Rev Ryan YouTube channel, and if they are a book that Jesse uses, I also archive it on the Creative Life Spiritual YouTube channel. If you're curious about anything else that I've done, because I've also read this thing called You, because it's my favorite Ernest Holmes book. But if you go to the Running Rev Ryan YouTube channel, you can see all of the books that I've done, including the I started this during COVID, at the very beginning of COVID, because everything was shut down and I needed an outlet. And so I was like, and I was reading one of the 365 books. I think I was reading Science of Mind 365, and I was like, you know what? People need to hear this. And so this gave us a way to engage with you when we couldn't any other way. And I've just kept doing it because it's part of my spiritual practice now. So we are doing chapter 3 in the Essential Ernest Holmes. These are not my, these are my reading out loud glasses. And what he's doing is he's starting all of these chapters off with the voice celestial. Now here's the thing. I've read The Voice Celestial as well. It's phenomenal. It's epic poetry. And I think most of it is on the YouTube channel, but if it is not, which I really need to go and take a look and see if I did finish those, it is complete. You can do daily readings or complete chapters on the Running Rev Ryan YouTube channel. So, because the Voice Celestial, it's a ride. It's a ride. He's also ending the chapters with with affirmations directly from Ernest Holmes. So that might be interesting for you. And I also want to make a note that at the bottom of each section, there's a little number if you're following along. So if you want to know where Reverend Jesse got this material, look at the number and then flip to the back and look at this section called Notes. Yes, I know it's backwards. I'm sorry. I don't know how to fix that. And then look for the chapter that you were looking in, and he will tell you based on what the number is, where he got the material from. So if you want to read more, because one of the things that Reverend Norm taught us about the Bible is to read a little bit before and a little bit after to put it in context. So if you want to do that with what the material that is in this book, he provided you the source material so you know where that passage came from. All right? So I'm just not going to tell you because it would make these readings a whole lot longer. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time, that's where this information is. It is available to you. You just need a copy of the book, which I hope you have a copy of the book because, yeah. You'll also see me with my highlighter when I highlight things that I'm like, ooh, that's really good. So, chapter 3, What Mind Can Conceive, the Presence. In simple words, the truth can be defined. That good shall come if in it you believe, while forms of fear accursed will fall on them whose mind envisions fear and doubt and grief. Faith is the thought which truth will bring to form. Though faith may be in evil or in good, but truth itself stands clear, remote from ill. Truth is the prototype immaculate, the pattern of perfection never lost, the cosmic mold in the Creator's mind, and flesh is the counterpart to symbolize that which exists above, hid from your eyes. A crystal mold of unimagined grace, by which life's sculptor shapes the human face. So flesh is soul, while soul and flesh are one. This is the truth by which a new effect is won. And they who dare to turn to truth and truth alone and say, thy will be done, will open the door to paradise. They who deny the truth must live without the good that truth might bring from heaven to them. But truth itself will suffer no defeat. And like a tree upon the desert's edge, wind-blown, sand-scoured, and buffeted by age, can stand alone against the ravages of time and still hold life within itself. So the person upheld by truth, their roots run deep, and drink their fill from hidden springs. Yet few there be who claim this heritage, discard tradition's blight, and choose to live free souls. For one with truth is better than 10,000 bowing to a golden calf within the wilderness of ignorance. Yeah, the Voice Celestial was really, really amazing. I highly recommend it. And I did read it. So, no. All right, let's get going. How much grace, peace, love, and wonder can we accept? That much we can have. We believe in an absolute unconditioned first cause, operating spontaneously through self-proclamation and answering only unto itself out of an immutable law that is contained within itself. Because this mind is self-existent, self-creating, self-perpetuating, self-animating, and self-expressing, it is everything necessary. It possesses everything necessary to create anything that is ever going to be, or ever was, or ever shall be. This is what we believe, and these are the two great realities with which we deal. We know that the consciousness of the presence, the motivation of love, and the feeling of desire to give, which partakes of the nature of the original giving, brings back to wholeness that which seems to be sheared off. We know that everything seeks this wholeness, as rivers seek the ocean. We know this but a scientific spiritual mind practitioner is one who, understanding it, realizes that they often have to resort to a method or a technique. This most of us have to do most of the time, because no matter how often they are told, many people do not understand the significance of spiritual mind healing, nor what it is, nor what it is based on. Most people think we are materializing spirit or spiritualizing matter, or that we are influencing lower planes by higher planes. And there is no such thing. Or that we have suddenly gotten so spiritual that God sits up and takes notice. There is no such God, and there are no such people. I wish there were such people, but know that there couldn't be such a God. And lessons on prosperity and mental control of conditions are sometimes dangerous because of the misunderstanding of this subject. Science of mind is not a get-rich-quick scheme. We do not teach that you can get what you want. If we could all get what we want, it might be disastrous, for it is certain that most of us would want things that would interfere with the well-being of someone else. Consequently, the science of mind does not promise something for nothing. It does, however, tell us that if we comply with the law complies with us. Because what we demonstrate today, tomorrow, and the next day is not as important as the tendency which our thought is taking. Patterns, people. Patterns. The dominant attitude of our mind. If everyday things are a little better, a little happier, and a little more harmonious, a little more health-giving and joyous, if each day we are expressing more life, we are going in the right direction. Here are some more evocative pieces on why affirmative prayer works as it does. Our conscious connection with the infinite and the subconscious mind, the seat of all our creative beliefs. It is held in our philosophy that there is no such thing as your subjective mind and my subjective mind, meaning two, for this would be duality. But there is such a thing as the subjective state of my thought and of your thought in mind. The unfoldment of personality is a projection of the eternal, creative spirit, which is the essence of all personality and the background of all individuality. Humanity's consciousness of God constitutes their real and immortal self. There is really only one person viewed from the universal sense, but in this one, or grand person, as it has been called, there are innumerable persons. Each is in direct relationship with the whole. Each is an image of God, but God is not lessened by being represented in innumerable forms and through limitless numbers of mentality any more than the figure 5 would become exhausted by being used in innumerable mathematicisms. I don't know what that word is. Mathematicians. Yeah, I don't think I said that right. Yeah, occasionally I just... lose my mind with the way simple words are pronounced. That's not a simple word. It's a really long one. All right. It is impossible to plumb the depths of the individual mind because the individual mind is really not individual, but is individualized. Behind the individual is the universal, which has no limits. In this concept alone lies the possibility of eternal and endless expansion. Everyone is universal on the subjective side of life and individual only at the point of conscious perception. The riddle is solved, and we all use the creative power of the universal mind every time we use our own mind. The artist knows that even though they have created something beautiful, it can be destroyed. Their real and innermost satisfaction is not in the object, but in the subject, the thing within them which penetrates the mystic splendor of beauty itself. So it is with all our temporary creations. Empires may rise and fall, chance and change, the vicissitudes of fortune, the comings and goings of human events, the isolated dreams of our own experiences, the temporary or more or less permanent friendships in our lives inevitably must give way to something bigger. You are greater than the sum total of all of the experiences you have had. Meeting privately with people who requested spiritual mind treatment from him for solutions to personal challenges, Ernest would usually treat silently, since he maintained that the exact form of the treatment or the eloquent words in it made no difference to the outcome. What only mattered was the feeling of yes in the mind and heart of the person doing the treatment. A treatment is an active statement expressed inaudibly as thinking or audibly as words. It does not matter which, so long as it is definite. The treatment is for the purpose of convincing the one giving it, and it operates at whatever level of awareness the one reaches during that particular treatment. At times, we have a greater level of awareness than at others, but the treatment is always an affirmation of our inner convictions. There must be faith and conviction and acceptance through the treatment. Here is where our consciousness. Okay, hang on. There must be faith and conviction and acceptance through the treatment. Here is where our consciousness has attached itself to a greater possibility, must not limit what may happen by what has happened. Okay, right here he's talking about principle is not bound by precedent. Okay, just because it has happened doesn't mean that that's the only way it can happen. It can be different, and that is why we don't want to bind ourselves to the past. Principle is not bound by precedent. Okay? All right, getting back to this. The time track is past. Let the dead bury their dead. Something new and dynamic is being born right now. The law, acting on the treatment, is bringing new situations, new people, new ideas, and new activities. It cannot fail to operate at the level of our consciousness. It might be asked about John, the one whom we are treating. Can he be helped unless he also believes? If we cannot help a person unless they also believe, we will not be able to help many people. Oh, good to know. Okay. Their belief has nothing to do with it. Oh. It is our belief that has to be transcended. And the transcendence of our belief will neutralize the negativity of theirs and do it right where we are, and in such degree as the activity of our affirmation takes place at a high level. we might be able to argue here. Now, it keeps going, so we're going to keep going in a minute. It might be worth arguing here that it comes down to, if the person has asked us to treat, then they are already accepting what we are doing. But that may be also one of the reasons why we don't do third-party treating. Okay? So if somebody comes to us and says, I need you to treat about this person, do we have their permission to treat about the situation? And if we don't, then we can still treat about it, but we just have to do the highest, the best. We can't take the word of the person because we don't have permission from the person, So it's like, if you come to me to treat about you, I'm more than happy to do that. But if you come to me to treat about this person, we're going to talk about what you want in this situation, because that may not be what the person wants. And the last thing I can do is interfere with the free will of somebody else. So, all right. So that's good to know about their belief has nothing to do with it. Okay, but let's go ahead and finish what he has to say. In treatment, we may have to deny something, and we should not be afraid of it. An affirmation and a denial are the same thing, because the human mind can only affirm, but it can do so positively or negatively. So we should not worry whether we are affirming or denying. We are arguing to convince ourselves that God is all there is, that there is a power greater than we are operating right where we are. All the confusion of thought or ignorance of this truth cannot change one bit of it. When we use a principle, there is no whimsical response, either of the almighty or the less mighty. It is an absolute law of action and reaction activated by consciousness, and a high degree of awareness inevitably produces a greater reaction. People live in a world of space and time and decide that things are important or trivial, permanent or fleeting. On the other hand, God is not conscious of matter as we know it. God is conscious of form, but not of size. God is conscious of manifestations, but not of space. God is conscious of outline, but not limitation. God is conscious in many forms, but not as division. As far as the law is concerned, it does not know anything about big or little. God cannot know anything which is contradictory to the divine being. It is impossible for the infinite to know that which is finite. The superlative cannot be the comparative. This does not mean that God cannot know the mountain and the molehill. We have tried to make it plain that God knows form, but not size. God knows both the mountain and the molehill, but not as big and little. The infinite knows experience, but not duration. Anything that spirit knows is. Anything that spirit knows is. Never look at that which you do not wish to experience. No matter what the false condition may be, it must be refuted. The proper kind of denial is based upon the recognition that, in reality, there is no limitation. For mind can as easily make a planet as an acorn. The infinite knows no difference between $1 million and a penny. It only knows that it is. How often should we treat? And does repeating a treatment negate the power of the first one? Again, it's done unto us as we believe. It's only negated if we call it so. Here he discusses treating for someone else called the patient, another term from Christian Science. Later, this became client to distinguish mental treatment, which affects spiritual causation, from medical or similar treatment, which addresses physical effects. Always come to a complete conclusion when giving a treatment. Always feel that it is done, complete, and perfect, and give thanks for the answer as if it were already objectified. In the interval between treatments, do not carry the thought of the patient around with you. To do so is to doubt, and this mental attitude must be completely overcome. Each treatment should be a complete statement of the reality of being. It would not be correct practice to spend one's whole time contemplating or meditating. There should be a balance between the inner and outer states. From an inner communion of the soul with the spirit, there comes inspiration and guidance. But this inner state would remain an idle dream unless heaven were brought to earth and spiritual perception woven into the fabric of everyday experience. Okay, so for the purposes of the homework, this is where you will stop for the homework of week 2 for week 3. Now, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to complete the chapter, but now you know that this is where the reading stops for week 2's homework for week 3. I'm moving on. Okay. Whew. More on treatment, our inner acceptance, and the using of spiritual power inherent in us, our divine pedigree, towards positive ends. Nothing is real to us unless we make it real. Nothing can touch us unless we let it touch us. Refuse to have the feelings hurt. Refuse to receive anyone's condemnation. In the independence of your own mentality, believe and feel that you are wonderful. This is not conceit. It is truth. And this has nothing to do with the readings at all. This has simply to do with a very special memory of my grandfather, who was a flawed person in his own way. And fortunately, I didn't see many of those flaws. But one of the things that I remember most about my grandfather, and he was 6 foot something. You know, he would come up to you, he would grab you around the shoulders, pull you into a side hug, look down at you. Of course, mind you, I was a child. And he would smile and say, "You're wonderful." That is a memory that I hold on to. 1, him doing it to me, and 2, watching him do it to other people. So, and that is exactly what that memory, that line, in the independence of your own mentality, believe and feel that you are wonderful. That's what that memory sparked, is my grandfather looking down at me and me looking up at him and him telling me that I was wonderful. Okay. Because I believed him. Repeat. God is all. There is but one power, intelligence, and consciousness in the universe, but one presence. This one presence cannot change. There is nothing for it to change into but itself. It is changeless, and it is my life now. It is in me now. Claim that no form of race suggestion, belief in limitation, subjective idea of limitation, thought of karma, fatalism, theology, or hell, horoscope, or any other false belief has power. Accept none of them. If you have ever believed in them, if you have ever believed that the stars govern you, or that your environment governs you, or that your opportunities govern you, recognize this as a hypnotic condition to which you have fallen, and deny every one of them until there is no longer anything in you that believes in them. To assert our individuality is to rise above the law of averages into the more highly specialized use of the law, which brings freedom rather than bondage, joy in the place of grief, and wholeness instead of sickness. We cannot do this unless we are first willing to judge not according to appearances. In this judging, not according to appearances, we are impressing the law with a new idea of ourselves, a less limited idea, and we are learning to think independently of any existing circumstances. This is what is meant by entering the absolute. Know, without a shadow of a doubt, that as a result of your treatment, some action takes place in infinite mind. Infinite mind is the actor and you are the announcer. If you have a vague, subtle, unconscious fear, be quiet and ask yourself, who am I? What am I? Who is speaking? What is my life? In this manner, think right back to principle until your thought becomes perfectly clear again. Such is the power of right thinking that it cancels and erases everything unlike itself. It answers every question, solves all problems, is the solution to every difficulty. It is like the sunlight of the eternal truth, bursting through the clouds of obscurity and bathing all life in glory. It is the absolute with which you are dealing. All there really is God. To daily meditate on the perfect life and to daily embody the great ideal is a royal road to freedom, to that peace which passeth understanding and is happiness to the soul of humanity. Let us learn to see as God must with a perfect vision. Let us seek the good and the true and believe in them with our whole heart, even though every person we meet is filled with suffering and limitations appear at all sides. We cannot afford to believe in imperfection for a single second. To do so is to doubt God. It is to believe in a power apart from God, to believe in another creator. Let us daily say to ourselves, perfect God within me, perfect life within me, which is God, come forth into expression through me as that which I am. Lead me ever into the paths of perfection and cause me to see only the good. By this practice, the soul will become illumined and will acquaint itself with God and be at peace. In universal mind is contained the essence of everything that ever was, or... Oh, hang on. Let me try that again. Sometimes his punctuation gets me. In universal mind is contained the essence of everything that ever was, is, or shall be. The seen and the unseen are in it and governed by it. It is the sole and only creative agency in the universe, and all other apparent agencies are it, working in different ways. Things exist in the universal mind as ideas. Ideas take form and become things in the concrete or the visible world. Thought calls things forth from the universal into expression. All other apparent agencies are it, working in different ways. Okay, a good practice is to sit and realize that you are a center of divine attraction, that all things are coming to you, that the power within is going out and drawing back all that you will ever need. Don't argue about it, just do it. And when you have finished, leave it all to the law, knowing that it will be done. Declare that all life, all love, and power are now in your life. Declare that you are now in the midst of plenty. Stick to it even though you may not as yet see the results. It will work. And those who believe the most always get the most. Think of the law as your friend, always looking out for your interest. Trust it completely, and it will bring your good to you. And I hear that hitch in my voice, so I'm going to grab a drink of water really quick. Negative forces operating in our lives will die a natural death if we practice the habit of being disinterested in them. All outward forms of behavior are automatic results of inner mental picturings. But these pictures, conscious or... Okay, you know what? Let me try that again. Negative forces operating in our lives will die a natural death if we practice the habit of being disinterested in them. All outward forms of behavior are automatic results of inner mental picturings. Be these pictures conscious or unconscious. We are continuously being drawn into situations or circumstances, sometimes against our objective will, but seldom against our unconscious willing. Most of our mental imagery is unconscious. It comes either from previous experiences or the experiences of the race. There is much in the subconscious of which the intellect is not aware. But one thing is certain. Our subjective or unconscious thought patterns can be changed. We have created them and we can change them. We cannot live without God. Every attempt to do this has failed. No fear can remain where faith holds sway. Faith unites us with the original creative spirit, the divine mind, which already exists at the center of our being. The kingdom of heaven, which is the kingdom of wholeness, is within. You must have a faith in something greater than your previous experiences. You must bind yourself back in faith to the God principle within you. If we come daily to the supreme source of all life, if we let the dead bury their dead, if we forget the impositions placed upon us by our own imaginations or the dictatorial attempts of life to replace the joy which belongs to everyone, we shall soon plunge into the ocean of our own being, where wholeness and peace abide forever. When we put into the treatment, what we put into the treatment will come out of it. More than we appear to put into it can come out of it, but not a different type. If I plant a watermelon seed, I will get watermelons, but I will get a number of melons, and they will have a lot of seeds, which can produce more melons. So the thought is multiplicity, but never division. The way to give a treatment is, first of all, to absolutely believe that you can. Believe that your word goes forth into a real creative power which at once takes it up and begins to operate on it. Feel that to this power all things are possible. It knows nothing but its own power to do that which it wishes to do. It receives the impress of your thought and acts upon it. What it does. Oh, wait. Sorry, hang on. I missed Jesse's line. The third of the 4 textbook introductory pieces sums it up beautifully, what it does. We should approach the study of the science rationally, never expecting to derive any benefits from it that its principle does not contain. For while it is true that we are immersed in an infinite intelligence, a mind that knows all things, it is also true that this intelligence can acquaint us with its ideas only as we are able and willing to receive them. The divine mind is infinite. It contains all knowledge and wisdom, but before it can reveal its secrets, it must have an outlet. This outlet we shall be compelled to supply through our own receptive mentalities. All invention, art, literature, government, law, and wisdom that has come to the race has been given to it through those who have deeply penetrated the secrets of nature and the mind of God. Perhaps the simplest way to state the proposition is to say that we are surrounded by a mind or intelligence that knows everything, that the potential knowledge of all things exists in this mind, that the abstract essence of beauty, truth, and wisdom coexists in the mind of the universe, that we also exist in it and may draw from it. But what we draw from it, we must draw through the channel of our own mind, our own minds. A unity must be established and a conscious connection must be made before we can derive the benefits which the greater mind is willing to reveal or impart to us. The Spirit can give us only what we can take. It imparts itself only as we partake of its nature. It can tell us only it can tell us only what we can understand. The infinite knowingness becomes our wisdom only in such a degree as we embody its intelligence. It has been said that we can know God only insofar as we can become God. This is a far-reaching thought and should be carefully scrutinized, as it is taken figuratively and not too literally, for we cannot really become God, but we can and do partake of the divine nature, and the universal does personify itself through humanity in varying degrees according to humanity's receptivity to it. The universe is impersonal. It gives a light to all. It is no respecter of persons. It values each alike. Its nature is to impart, ours to receive. When we stand in the light, we cast a shadow across the pathway of our own experience. Emerson advises that we get our bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuits. It is a beautiful and true thought to realize that every person stands in the shadow of a mighty mind, a pure intelligence, a divine givingness. Not alone unto the great comes the soft tread of the unseen guest. The arrogant have not perceived the simplicity of faith, but the pure in heart see God. A farmer has seen the heavenly host in their fields. The child has frolicked with God at play. The mother has clasped God to her breast, and the fond lover has seen God in the eyes of their beloved. We look too far away for reality. We look too far away for reality. The intelligence by and through which we perceive that there is a spiritual presence and an infinite mind in the universe constitutes our receptivity to it and decides its flow through us. We have made a riddle out of simplicity, therefore we have not read the sermons written in stones, nor interpreted the light of love running through life. To return to a sane simplicity is one of the first and most important things to do. All people receive some light, and this light is always the same light. There is one nature diffused throughout all nature, one God incarnated in all people. The divine incarnation is inherent in our nature. We are immersed in an infinite knowingness. The question is, how much of this reality are we going to express in our own lives? The direct approach is always the best and the most effective. Insofar as any person has spoken the truth, they have proclaimed God. It matters not what their particular approach may have been. The scientist and the philosopher, the priest and the professor, the humanitarian and the empire builder, all have caught some gleam of the eternal glory, and each has spoken in their own tongue that language which is of itself universal. Lest we do away with the preponderancy of thought and approach the thing, let us do away with the preponderancy of thought and approach the thing simply and quietly. It is the nature of the universe to give us what we are able to take. It cannot give us more. It has given all. We have not yet accepted the greater gift. Spiritual wisdom says that God manifests through everything and is incarnated in all people, that all is divinity, and that nature herself is the body of God. The mechanical laws of nature are set and immutable, but the spontaneous recognition of these laws gives us the power to bring them into practical use in everyday life and experience. Here we have a dual unity, law and order, spontaneous choice, volition, conscious action, and automatic reaction. The laws of the universe are to be trusted, but we must come to understand them before we can use them. Once understood, any law is available and is impersonally responsive to each and all alike. In an intelligent study of the teachings of the science of mind, we come to understand that all is love, yet all is law. Love rules through law. Love is the divine givingness. Love is the way. Love is spontaneous. Law is impersonal. We should study the nature of reality with this in mind, and in this way we shall avoid two grave mistakes: either viewing life as made up only of mechanical laws, or viewing it as made up only of spontaneous actions, irrespective of law and order. As we gain the broader viewpoint, we shall see that life must contain two fundamental characteristics. We shall see that there is an infinite spirit operating through an infinite and immutable law in this cosmos, and not chaos. Find an eternal I was double checking to make sure that word was eternal and not external. My mind had a moment. That was my dyslexia rearing its head going, that's not the word you think it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Okay, let me try this again. As we gain the broader perspective, we shall see that life must contain two fundamental characteristics. We shall see that there is an infinite spirit operating through an infinite and immutable law. In this cosmos, and not chaos, finds an external, an internal, you know what? It's hard when there's so many words that sound alike. All right. In this cosmos, and not chaos, finds an eternal existence in reality. Love points the way, and law makes the way possible. Oof. This is why I try and do this earlier in the afternoon, where my brain isn't quite so mushy. If we observe any scientific discovery, we shall see that this is the way it works. Some person's mind discovers the law or principle governing the science. This is the way of love. of personal volition, of choice. This is the spontaneous element in the universe. Following this knowledge of the way the principle works, having discovered the operation of the law, the spontaneous element now rests its case on immutable reactions inherent in the law. All science is based upon proven principles. But we should not overlook the significant fact that it is the mind which discovers and makes use of the mechanical law. It is not this mind the spirit in us. We can never completely fathom the infinite mind. We shall always be discovering new lands. Consequently, evolution is an eternal unfoldment of the more yet to be. Since it is the mind which must first come to see, know, and understand, and since all future possibility for the race must find an avenue of outlet through someone's mind, we shall do well to look to the mind for the answer to all our problems. Undoubtedly, we are surrounded by and immersed in a perfect life, a complete, normal, happy, sane, harmonious, and peaceful existence. But only as much of this life as we embody will really become ours to use. As much of this life as we understand and embody will react as immutable law, the reaction of the mechanical to the volitional. The concept is wonderful and fraught with tremendous significance. In it are bound up our hopes and fears, our expectations, and our future and present realizations. Since an understanding of any law must pass through our conscious mind before we can make use of it, it follows that with all our getting, we should get understanding. Should we wish to know a certain truth, we should state that this truth is already known in mind, and this statement will be true. But the overmind must be accepted into our mind before we can understand it. How then are we to accomplish the desired result? By stating and feeling that our mind knows the truth about the thing we desire to know. In this way, we draw the infinite mind into our mentalities by definite knowledge of some particular good, or for definite knowledge of some particular good. The universal mind contains all knowledge. It is the potential ultimate of all things. To it, all things are possible. To us, as much is possible as we can conceive according to law. Should all the wisdom of the universe be poured over us, we should yet receive only that which we are ready to understand. This is why some draw one type of knowledge and some another, and all from the same source, the source of all knowledge. The scientist discovers the principles of their science. The artist embodies the spirit of their art. The saint draws Christ into their being, all because they have courted the particular presence of some definite concept. Each state of consciousness taps the same source, but has a different receptivity. Each receives what they ask for according to their ability to embody. The universal is infinite. The possibility of differentiating is limitless. Life always becomes to us the particular thing we need when we believe that it becomes to us that particular thing. The understanding of this is the essence of simplicity. As all numbers proceed from the fundamental unit, as all material forms are but different manifestations of one formless stuff, so all things proceed from that which is neither person, place, nor thing, but is of the essence of all things. Our thought and conscious receptivity differentiate this universal possibility by drawing it through our minds and causing it to flow into particular channels through the conscious receptivity of our different faiths. One state of consciousness will differentiate one kind of a result, another mental state a different manifestation. Mental work is definite. Each state of thought taps the same principle. Each uses the same law, is inspired by the same spirit, but each draws forth a different result. Here is multiplicity proceeding from unity. This is what Emerson meant when he said that unity passes into variety. But someone will ask, can we bring out both good and evil from one source? Of course not. The first principle is goodness, and only insofar as our thought and action tend towards a constructive program will it eventually succeed. We cannot fight the universe. It refuses to be budged from its course. We can only go with it. But there is ample latitude for personal expression. How then are we going to know what is right and what is wrong? We are not going to know. We already do know. Every person knows right from wrong in its broadest sense. It should be considered right to love and to enjoy living, to be well, happy, and to express freedom is to be in accord with divine law and wisdom. Here is latitude enough for the most expectant and the most enthusiastic. Let us restate our principle. We are surrounded by an infinite possibility. It is goodness, life, law, and reason. In expressing itself through us, it becomes more fully conscious of its own being. Therefore, it wishes to express through us. As it passes into our being, it automatically becomes the law of our lives. It can pass into expression through us only as we consciously allow it to do so. Therefore, we should have faith in it and its desires and its ability to do for us all that we shall ever need to have done. Since it must pass through our consciousness to operate for us, we must be conscious that it is doing so. The one who wishes to demonstrate some particular good must become conscious of this particular good, if they wish to experience it. Therefore, they must make their mind receptive to it, and they must do this consciously. There is no hocus pocus in a mental treatment. It is always definite, conscious, concrete, and explicit. We are dealing with an intelligence, and it should be dealt with intelligently. There is no occult trick to giving scientific treatments. It is just the reverse. Simplicity should mark our every effort, and positivity should accompany all statements that we make into the law of good. A treatment is a statement in the law embodying the concrete idea of our desires and accompanied by an unqualified faith that the law works for us as we work with it. Let us waste no further time looking for the secret of success or the key to happiness. Already the door is open, and whosoever will may enter. Undoubtedly, each of us is now demonstrating their concept of life, but trained thought is far more powerful than untrained, and the one who gives conscious power to their thought should be more careful what they think than the one who does not. The more power one gives to their thought, the more completely they believe that their thought has power, the more power it will have. A treatment is an active thing. When one gives a treatment, they are not sitting around hoping that something may happen. They are definitely constructive, actively stating, sensing, knowing some specific good. This is in accord with the principle which we seek to demonstrate. If we give treatments without a definite motive in mind, the most we will accomplish will be to promote a salutary atmosphere. A passive meditation will never produce an active demonstration, any more than an artist can paint a picture by sitting down with their paints, but never using them. The mind must conceive before the creative energy can produce. We must supply the avenue through which it can work. It is ready and willing. It is its nature to spring into being through our thought and action. In an iron foundry, the pig iron is thrown into a great furnace and melted. That which was solid becomes liquid and is then poured into molds which are fashioned in different types. The iron itself neither knows nor cares what particular form it takes. It is formless, ready to take any form supplied. If we did not place it in the proper molds, the liquid would assume no particular form. This is the way it is in dealing with the subtle energy of spirit. But the molds are made in our own subjective minds through conscious and specific thought, purpose, and direction. We should be very careful not to think that because we make the mold, we must create the substance. It already exists. It is part of life in which we live, a part of the universal energy. Definite molds or concepts decide which shape. Definite molds or concepts decide the shape which is to be created from the general liquid. This should prove to us that there is a specific technique in mental treatment which we should not overlook. If we wish a certain good, we must instill into our own minds a realization of this specific good, and then, as this idea is the mold we place in mind, it will be filled by the substance necessary for the complete manifestation of this good in our lives. Therefore, if a person is seeking to demonstrate, they must tell themselves that they have faith in their power, in their ability, in the principle, and in the certainty of the demonstration for which they work. Faith, being a mental attitude, is according to law, and even though one doubts, they can overcome their doubts and create the desired faith. Definitely. If this were not so, only those who by nature have faith in God could ever hope to understand the principle of the science of mind and spirit, which is subject to certain definite, immutable, and impersonal laws. However, even though faith is a necessary attitude, it is something that can always be established by explaining the theory and proving the principle. Faith in a Let me try that again. Faith in a certain specific statement has power consciously to oppose, neutralize, erase, and obliterate the opposite mental attitude. It is because of this fact that this study is a science that can definitely be used, and we must accept it as such. The mystery with which most people surround the search for truth relative to this principle is not read out of it, but is read into it. It stands to reason that if thought and faith, prayer, hope, and appreciation are anything at all, they are definite. And if they are definite, they must be specific. If they are specific, then they unquestionably must accomplish their desire. Many people correctly begin their treatment in this manner. I know that the principle of intelligence within me will direct me, etc. Then they complete it with the thought, well, I certainly hope it does. This is entirely forgetting any definite statement and is simply wondering if possibly some good will come along. This is not a correct treatment and is not the scientific use of this principle. Hope is good. It is better than despair, but it is a subtle illusion and is an unconscious compromise and has no part in an effective mental treatment. Okay, that was really cool. Hang on, let's read that again. Hope is good. It is better than despair, but it is a subtle illusion and it is an unconscious compromise. That's really, really cool. Okay. We should say to doubt, where did you come from? Who is your father? Etc. You have no place in my mind. Get out. I know that the faith within me now neutralizes all doubt. This is the scientific use of a mental statement. There must be no compromise with the consciousness. Ernest has a very gentle way of speaking most of the time. Emma, on the other hand, was very strict. When I read Emma, I have this feeling like she's either standing there with her finger pointed in my chest going, this is the way it is. Or she'll grab you up by the lapels and say, this is the way it is. Ernest is far more gentle than that. Most of the time with Ernest, you feel like you're having a conversation. Okay. But every now and again, he kind of points and puts his finger in your chest and goes, this is the way it is. And that's kind of how I feel right now. We've been having this nice conversation that all of a sudden Ernest goes, now this is the way it is. It's really, really interesting because he doesn't do it often. I think Jesse today said that he was very curious, and that's what he was. He said about with a lot of Jungians, they're in the conversation. They're not trying to persuade you. And a lot of the times that's kind of the way I feel about Ernest. Ernest isn't necessarily trying to persuade you. He's just saying, hey, this is really cool. Have you thought about it this way? And then every now and again, he's like, this is the way it is. But most of the time, like I said, it feels like you're having this conversation with Ernest. All right, we've got one page left, so let's finish this up. We have discovered that the principle is and how it works. And now this is what it does. Specifically, turn to that thought which tells us that we do not know how to use it and repudiate the falsehood. The principle that we have to demonstrate is perfect, and insofar as we can compel the mind to perceive this perfection, so far it will automatically demonstrate. Experience has proved this to be true. We waste much time in arguing over things that cannot be answered. When we have arrived at the ultimate, that is the ultimate. It is the way the thing works. Therefore, we have a right to say that there is a law involved and that this law executes the word. We discover laws, find out how they work, and then begin to use them. Therefore, this question is answered when we say it is the nature of thought, of the creative energy, and the nature of being to be this way. We would say that law is an attribute of God. God did not make the law. It coexists with the eternal. The infinite law and the infinite intelligence are but two sides of the infinite unity. One balances the other, and they are the great personal and impersonal principles in the universe. Evolution is the outworking of the mechanical, and involution is the inworking of the conscious and the volitional. When we think, something happens to thought. The field through which thought operates is infinite. There is no reason to doubt it. No matter how it is approached, to thought there can be no limit. So we will say that it is the nature of being to react in this way. Here and now, we are surrounded by and immersed in an infinite good. How much of this infinite good is ours? All of it. How much of it may we have to use? As much as we can embody. Here is a powerful thought to declare to yourself. I carefully guard my thought. I refuse to permit anything antagonistic or unlovely to enter my consciousness. I am learning to live in joy, in peace, and in calm confidence. I am putting my whole trust, faith, and confidence in the good. I think with clarity, move with ease, and accomplish without strain. And that, my friends, is chapter 3, What Mind Can Conceive. And like I said, when dealing with Ernest, he does have a very gentle way of stating things. And it's one of the things that I love the most about him is he does have this very gentle way of laying it out there. And he's like, look, here's the way I see it. And it's not like he's trying to talk you into it. Like, you know, I don't feel like he's trying to talk me into something that isn't true. He's just saying, hey, let's have this conversation about the way things work. And then every now and again, he does just kind of grab you up and go, look, this is the way it is. And he does it out of this absolute love and curiosity of, this is how I've noticed that it works, and I want you to get the most out of your life, and here's a way that you can do it. All right. Well, that was Ernest. And I can honestly say, I know I've read this book several times, but I'm really, really, really enjoying my time through it this time. There is something to reading books out loud. You should try it. Man, it really does work for me. So, all right. That was the Essential Ernest Holmes, Chapter 3. And I'll see you in class tomorrow. Or, well, on Monday, whenever you're watching this. I'll see you in class. All right, beloveds. Take care of yourself. Know that you are loved. And I will see you next time.